All right. Are we live here? And we're ready to have John Kitchens here.
Live.
We are live, excited and full of energy, right?
That's right. It's good. Good to see you. I appreciate you guys having me on. I know one of the things that you guys have done a really amazing, wonderful job with is staying consistent at adding value and always pouring back into the community. And I mean the community as real estate agents in general. So kudos to you guys for that, and always being a place to where, you know, other agents should feel that they can come to you guys to get that guidance, to get that direction, that understanding to really overcome, you know, kind of how a lot of agents are feeling right now. You know, they're lost, confused, and insecure, and they're just, you know, looking for a place to find a little clarity and some direction, and being able to get some momentum and get some confidence back. And you know, it's just been interesting, Karen. You and I, we've talked about this and with the guys, and you know, over the last couple of years, you know, from a production standpoint, you know, you could sit in your lawn chair with your bucket and transactions would fall into it. And
Right.
So it really kind of created an environment that was rewarding bad behavior. And there was a comment that one of my coaching sessions a couple weeks ago, and I don't even know if I shared this with you guys yet, but I was talking to, we were kind of going through and sharing, and I was kind of been thinking about how the market is really starting to expose a lot of our weaknesses. And the gentleman that we were kind of talking to, and we were wrapping up a kind of a group session, and like it was like 10 seconds, and we jumped out of the virtual Zoom room back into with everybody else. And he made a comment, and he said, you know, revenue can hide a lot of problems. And I was like, oh my goodness, is that not the truth? and so you think about over the you know, last year, the year before, a lot of people did really well from an agent standpoint. If they had a pretty strong sphere, if they had a pretty good reputation or brand, because everybody was buying and selling. And so, you know, if you just engaged, you were going to pick up transactions, and that allows a good steady stream of income and revenue to come in. And it's just exactly what he said. You know, revenue can hide a lot of problems. And I think one of the biggest problems is the problem of not being proactive, but being reactive. And so getting back into really those success habits, and really gaining the momentum and the activities that help us collect wins, and really build upon to gain confidence, where a lot of agents that we're seeing, they're really challenged, and they're fighting that. And it's just a process. It's of understanding how do you gain confidence. And most people tend to believe that they have to feel confident before they become confident. And it's actually the other way around. You have to take action on the activities that build confidence, and the feeling of confidence comes later, right? You feel confident after you're already doing the activities that allow us to become confident. And when we were chatting about kind of where we feel, you know, from your eyewitness news perspective of, you know, boots on the ground, talking to a lot of agents where they're struggling, where they could, you know, use some insight in some direction. It was really around that. And that's kind of how we kind of came up with the kind of the theme and the topic of how do we close that confidence gap, and what the heck does that even mean? So I'm excited to jump in, but
I'm looking forward to that. And thank you for also talking about when you said take action that builds confidence. And I guess over the last few years, a lot of people weren't really taking action. They were just responding to the market, where now we're having to take that action to build that confidence back up into
Right.
ourselves.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
a good.
Being so reactive. And sometimes when we get so busy, it's hard to get off of that, right? We just got so much stuff coming at us.
Right.
We still have to be able to carve out, even in kind of a hectic whirlwind type of world, we still have to be able to carve out the time allocation for us to do the things that are within our control, to be proactive.
Mhm.
And even if it means, shutting yourself off from the world for a few hours, because I promise you there's nothing in this business that can't wait a couple hours.
Yeah.
And even if you're able to get those victories, sooner in the day rather than later, then that gives you the rest of the day to be reactive, and really, almost feel like you're putting your firefighter outfit on and putting out fires most of the day. But if you get those victories and those things within your control early on, then it's you're setting yourself up, for some success.
That's great. Well, I'm going to center it in on you, and you go ahead and get started. I know your time is valuable, and everyone else is that's here. And then maybe afterwards, if there's any questions, we'll do some Q&A.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, if you guys do have questions, I don't know, Karen, whatever's the easiest way. I know we're streaming into a Facebook group. You've got, you've got some folks there with you.
Mhm.
Yeah, just feel free, however we want to be able to give that. And I'll share a little perspective, Karen, just to give everybody some context if they haven't had the chance to connect before. For me in the real estate.
Oops. Sorry.
Oh, there we go. So for me,
Give it on you.
there we go. So for me in the real estate space, I got into, like a lot of agents do, kind of by default, sometimes just getting in and without really the intent of getting in for any particular reason. And for me, it was coming in on the operational side to an already pretty successful team, before teams were really the thing, and ended up joining Kinder in October of 2004. I got licensed in January of 2005, and really just from the standpoint of, when you're a successful team in a small market, you paint a big target on your back. And so it was just part of our thought process, is that we wanted everybody licensed, just from a protective standpoint, to protect ourselves so nobody could mess with us. And we were always being proactive to kind of, armor ourselves to shield off whatever was coming our way. And, for me, being able to already step into a successful organization, that year when I came in 2004, they had closed out 340 units. We went the next year 430, and then we made the jump to 521. And keep in mind, we're in a small market, total of about 3,000 total transactions per year in our entire MLS, entire county. And we weren't the big dogs. We were always number two. We were battling, going head to head with the top 10 Remax team, in the country. And that's who we did, went head to head with in our market all of those years. And, stepping in from my perspective with the operational side, I was the guy that came in and stabilized the ship, kept the train on the tracks. And so when you look at, stepping into that role and allowing us to continue to grow, was really insightful, really exciting. And 07, 08 happened, was able to, decided that I felt, if somebody even reminded me of it today, in John Maxwell's, one of his 21 leadership traits or whatever it is, but it's the kind of the lid, right? Believing that there's a lid on your opportunity. And as a leader, we don't ever want to put a lid on anybody's potential. And so there was just a loss of vision. And sometimes, and that's the importance of having a strong vision, because it's not what the vision is what the vision does. It brings everybody together, it moving in a common direction. And so we just felt that the vision was not there. Ended up, starting our own small brokerage right in the middle of 07, 07 into 08, 09. And it was one of the best things ever because it put me out in the trenches. And so being on the operational side for the first few years in real estate, it really brought everything full circle. Ended up, Ken and I, squashed our differences and able to get back together and broke away. We were Caldwell Banker at the time, broke away, went independent, and really dissected the team and small brokerage model and understood, profitability at a high level and all the things that we were doing. And we ran into an opportunity to where Michael Reese, Kinder, and myself, we had always wanted to do something together. And that opportunity presented itself in 12. And so moved, got out of Lawton. So about 3 hours south down to Frisco, Texas, where we dabbled with a couple different models. We tried to take what we were doing in Lawton and try to apply it in Frisco and modify what Mike was doing. He had gone independent as well. And so really transformed and really developed kind of a partner model throughout North DFW, and then slowly expanded through DFW into 15 and 16 timeframe. Then we were, finally looked at the EXP model, and it just made sense for us for what we were trying to do. And it allowed us to collapse time and pursue of the vision at an accelerated rate. So that was for us, that was the transition. And during that time frame in 2012, I believe it was February 2012, I actually started my coaching journey and working one-on-one with real estate agents all over the planet. Last month, Karen, was my 11th year of coaching, one-on-one coaching. And, I think maybe close to 500, a little over 500 agents I've had the opportunity to work with, but we're coming up on 15,000 one-on-one coaching calls. So I share all of that, right? Share the two brokerages in polar opposite markets. Lawton, Oklahoma, average sales price, 120,000. When we were in North Dallas, in the Frisco area, our average sales price at the time was about 280, 283. And then all of those coaching calls just gives me a unique perspective that a lot of people don't have. And so I work really well from a question and answer standpoint. I can go down any dang rabbit hole you want to go. Like I said, it's just not a situation that I haven't encountered either running our brokerages, building the brokerages, or coaching over the last 18 years. It's been a fun run. I do want to kind of unpack a few things and really tie around this kind of theme of the conversation of kind of closing the confidence gap, and then just give you guys some things to kind of think about to help you if you're already gaining some momentum to be able to accelerate it or get the train moving. It's a little tough when it's standing still to be able to get it going, but once it gets going, watch out, right? I've gotten into this crazy sport of endurance events, and even into the ultra side of things now. Not a runner. Actually will be turning 46 next week. And so I really started my running journey right when I was turning 40. And actually I hadn't run more than a 5K up to that point. And ended up doing a marathon that year, which led into 3 full Ironman. Just covered 5th 100K distance last week, or this past weekend, and completed my first 100-mile race last July. And that's what we're working towards. We've got one coming up in May, one coming up in August, and then we'll have another one probably later this year. So 3 100-milers on the calendar for this year, kind of working towards. But this past weekend, we were driving down to South Texas. I'm in Edmond, Oklahoma, which is just north of Oklahoma City these days. And we drove down to San Angelo, Texas, about 6-hour drive from here. And driving down, got on to Andy Frisella's podcast. And Andy had Tim Grover on. And Tim Grover is, if you guys don't know, Tim Grover was Michael Jordan's coach, who he hired after being fed up of being abused and beat up by the Detroit Pistons, and really got MJ, the size that he needed to, to push through and, kind of move his career on. He just needed to get stronger. Grover ended up working with Kobe, working with Dwayne Wade, and so many other of the great NBA players. And he had said, he said a lot. It's a great conversation, worth listening to. But he made a point. He said, because they were talking about things being tough. And what he said is that, do you realize when the new day starts? And, immediately when we think of the new day, right, we think when we're waking up, the sun's rising. And he said, the new day starts at midnight. And what's going on at midnight? It's dark. And it can get cold. And it stays dark for a while before that sun breaks and things we start to get some light on what we're doing. But if you think about what he's saying and how it can kind of carry over to any situation that we may be in our life, within our business, within our relationships, within our health. And I was getting ready for that run. We started at 6:00 in the morning on Saturday, and it was 45 degrees when we started. And I was, on the last lap, I was having a conversation. We were talking about this with my pacer. And I said, do you realize what happens right before daybreak? I said, remember what Tim Grover said on Andy's podcast? And she's like, yeah, right. The new day starts at midnight. I said, well, do you realize what happens right before daybreak? I said, it always gets colder. It's always a little bit colder right before the sun breaks. And Saturday, I think it went from 45 at 6, and right before sunrise, almost 7, it was dropped to 42. But then the sun came out and it got up to 80 on Saturday. But think about that in your business and in your life, and being able to reflect back on any type of tough situation you've ever been through. It always gets a little bit tougher before the day breaks and the sun shines, and it gets better. And so when we're looking to improve upon anything, and especially closing whatever gap that we're trying to close, either in our business, in our finances, in our health, in our confidence, it's always going to be a little bit tougher before it gets better. And that should not surprise you. You should just be like, yep, here we go. It's getting a little bit tougher. That means it's about to get a lot better. And so when we look at from understanding confidence, it all starts with commitment. I don't believe you commit and figure it out. I believe you figure out what it is that you're wanting to achieve, and then you reverse engineer down, and then you take a good look at it and you go, okay, is that something I'm willing to commit to? When I ran my first marathon, I couldn't just run any marathon, right? Here I am living in North Texas. Of course I could run the Dallas Marathon. But no, I had to run the New York City Marathon. So that was just a heck of an experience. We took my dad to New York City for the first time. He'd never been. And so it was just an awesome time. And I was sitting at an event a few months later, and we've all experienced it, right? We've all been in the room, or, at an event, and the person on stage, you're like, that person was speaking specifically to me. They were talking directly to me. And there's, 1,000 people in the room. And that person was Jesse Itzler. And Jesse is part owner of the Atlanta Hawks. And he's married to Sarah Blakely. Jesse's one of these most incredible human beings ever, right? He's like the Dos Equis guy. Him and Matthew McConaughey could be the Dos Equis guy. But Jesse said something that really stuck with me. And he said, one of the worst things for us to do as human beings is that when we accomplish something significant, something big in our life, that one of the worst things to do is not to reset the goal immediately. And see, I had finished that marathon, had that incredible experience, kind of the whole story behind it, what it meant. And I was like, man, I said, what's the next challenge? And in typical Michael Reese fashion, I get a text a week or so later, and it's just a link to Ironman Florida and 10th anniversary of Ironman Florida. I'm like, what is Ironman? Like, what is this? And so I started looking into it. What is this? 2.4 mile swim? I was like, dude, you're 41 years old. The most swimming you do is, I'm from Oklahoma, right? We get in the water with life jackets upside down, our legs sitting in it while we're drinking beer. So 2.4 miles, I was like, I don't even know if I can get my head around that. Like, what does that mean? And then 112 miles on the bike. I'm like, I started thinking, I was like, man, when's the last time I was on a bike? Oh, my bike got stolen when I was 14 years old from the junior high that I was going to. I hadn't been on a bike since. I was like, man, oh my gosh, 112 miles? Like, I don't even like being in a car for 112 miles, let alone on a bike for 112 miles. But then I understood what the run was, right? As a full marathon. It's like, well, I just did that. I understand what that is. And so I started looking. I was like, time, okay? I'm going to be averaging 14, 15 hours a week. The training requirements, how much time to the pool, how much time am I going to spend on the bike? I'm going to miss Saturdays of taking my son to karate. Do I have the support to help me with this? And when I stepped back and I looked at it and what it was going to take to be able to not only put your toe on the line, but also finish, was that something I was willing to commit to? And when at the end of the day, doing all of that and thinking about it, I was like, you know what? I am going to commit to this. And that's what I mean by figure out what it is, unpack it, and what is it going to take on a weekly, daily basis for that outcome to be true? And is that something you're willing to commit to? We do it the same thing with our business, right? I get people coming to me all the time. Yeah, hey, I want to grow. I want to be the number one team in my market. I want to do this. I want to do that. I'm like, okay, cool. Here's going to be the time requirement. Here's the capabilities, the skill set that you're going to have to improve upon. This is what you're going to miss out on. Is that something you're willing to commit to? And so some people are and some people are not. And if they're not, that's okay. But let's change it up here a little bit to get to what you're really willing to commit to. And see, commitment is just the first step. Once you have the commitment, you have to have the courage to take action. You have to have courage to take action. And what Karen and I were talking about at the beginning of this conversation is that you don't feel confident. You have the courage to act on the activities required to gain that confidence, to get those wins. Tim Grover has a definition of confidence. He said, confidence and arrogance are the same except for one thing. Confident people win. Arrogant people just talk. They don't win. They don't know how to win. They're not willing to put in the work to win. And so when you look at and understand that definition of it, is that my collection of wins is what's going to get me confidence. And what do I have to win at in order to achieve the outcome that I'm after? I'm committed to that. I have the courage to put the action on the line, to take the required activities. And in real estate, guys, it's real simple. It's only a handful of things that are within your control to acquire and get a new client. It's what are you doing to generate leads and opportunities? How are you engaging in them to have a conversation? Having a conversation to set an appointment to get face to face to articulate your value. Okay. Negotiating deals. And if you're working with buyers, showing properties, those are the only things that really move the needle in this business. And it's just a math equation. 70% of your working time has to be around those 5 activities. If you're not spending 70% of your working time on those activities, then you're not going to get the outcome you're after. It's just a math equation. And that's all business is. Business is just math. Create opportunities, create engagement that leads to a conversation to where you can set an appointment, get face to face so you can articulate your value proposition of why somebody would want to work with you. Negotiating deals and showing properties, 70%. So if you kind of unpack and are like, hey, I'm going to work 50 hours this week. Great. 70%, 35 hours. Hey, I'm only going to be able to work 10 hours this week. Great. 70%, 7 hours, those activities. You're like, well, John, I'm not showing, I don't have any clients. I'm not showing any properties. I'm not negotiating any deals. I don't have any appointments. Great. You get 70% of your working time to lead gen, engage, have a conversation. I promise you, if you're working 50 hours this week and you do 35 hours of lead gen, lead engagement conversations, you're going to set some damn appointments. I promise you. And it's just putting in the required amount of time and effort, but you got to have the courage to take the action. You have to put it on the line. Once you do that and you're taking the action, then you have to look at, okay, well, what am I missing? What do I need to develop? What capabilities do I need? What skills do I need to acquire? I can engage all of these people. What do I say? Well, you got to develop a script. Where's your script? What do you say? How do you engage? When you talk to somebody on the phone, where's your script? What are you saying? You get an appointment. What is the process? You have to learn all of that. And, but you have to have the commitment and the courage to take action to learn and develop those capabilities. And then you're going to start paying attention to the small wins. And it's collecting wins compounded over time is what builds confidence. And I promise you, if you're setting a bunch of appointments and you're articulating your value and people are like, yes, you definitely have a solution to my challenge or to my goal or to my desire. And you do that every day, every week, then the bank account takes care of itself. Too many people get fixated, on the bank account, which is just a lagging indicator. Really, there's nothing you can do about that. You have to focus on what's within your control daily and make sure that you're putting in the required amount of time and effort and energy that it takes to produce the results that you're wanting to have. And so that's how we really close the confidence gap. It comes down to action. It comes down to, not allowing reasons or excuses to hook you. And it's like a fish, right? Like, don't take that hook. Don't get hooked with your excuses. We always had a little saying, don't let the excuses get in the way of your results. Be really clear on what it is that you're wanting to go after. And, fear is interesting. You could use it to your advantage. It's just your relationship to it and not allowing it to be an excuse for you not to take the required action necessary for you to achieve what it is you're wanting to achieve. So really comes down to that, really comes down to the habits. It comes down to what it is that you're doing on a daily basis within your control to get new business, and just how much time and effort do you need to be able, to get the outcome that you want. And, the better you get with this, the more capabilities you develop. Yeah. Can you do it faster? Sure. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. It's like I said, just think about that train sitting still. It takes some energy to get that thing moving. But once it gets moving, watch out. And that's anything in our life. It takes a little bit of, takes some energy to get it moving. But once it's moving, nothing's going to slow you down. And just understanding that cycle. Karen, I'll pause right there for a second, see if we have any questions. I can kind of walk through a couple other things, but I'm sure we had some things triggered or sparked, or some ideas that might be floating around.
Thank you, John. That was really great. Good feedback, things to think about. And I know I am one to come up with lots of excuses.
We all are.
I have that on my vision board, no excuses. But I still come up with them.
They do. And I think everybody has to understand that the reason they come up, it's just because our brains are wired to protect us. And so they're like, oh no, don't do that. We could hurt ourselves by doing that. Right? No, we got to stay safe over here. And that's just how we're wired. Our brains are wired to protect us. It's no different than running, right? I start every time, right? My body's like, no, stop. Like, what are you doing? This is the dumbest thing ever. You're going to hurt yourself. Stop. You just don't listen to it. You just keep pushing through it.
Does anyone have any other questions that are here?
Hey, John, I have one.
Okay.
Share with everybody your patience timeline you have to have when you take on a commitment on something before you say, this isn't working.
Yeah, I think you look at one, it comes down to measuring it. And there's a cycle that we want to go through. And it's Hofstadter's law, right? Everything takes twice as long, even when you factor in it's going to take twice as long. It always does. In everything we do, it always takes more time. That's why you have to fall in love with the process. And really the process is that's what it's about. And, the races, like I was talking about, yeah, those are great, but it's more, those are like long training days, just the work building up to it. It's figuring out how your body's going to react. How do you recover? How do you do those things? And so when you look at kind of how we're trying to build this cycle, one, it has to start with practicing the skills, right? Hey, what do I need to do? What do I need to develop? Am I plugging in? Am I jumping on these calls? I know you guys do specific training calls, role play calls. Like, am I jumping in there? Do I have an accountability person? And so practicing the skills, then applying those skills effectively, assessing the results. Okay. How did that call session go? What did I learn? Where did I mess up? What conversations were train wrecks? What conversations were good? How can I improve? But when you take a second to step back and reflect, and one of the things that we would always push our agents and everything to do after every appointment is to do an autopsy on the appointment. Did I show up on time? Right? Am I looking like the professional image that I want to portray, my brand, my reputation? Was I respectful? Did I get a good gauge? Did I build rapport? Did I listen to what they're wanting to accomplish? Do I even know what their goals are? Do I know what they're willing to negotiate with and not negotiate with? Did I articulate my value? Did I try to shortcut the process any? Right? Did I give price too soon? Right? So it's just going through the whole thing, but reflecting on it, because that's how we we learn and we grow and make those adjustments. So we assess. So we do the autopsy. We assess what happened, and then we make the modifications as necessary. Then we go back to practicing the skills, applying them, assess the results, modify as needed. Everything's a test. And we're just testing and we're learning and we're just making the tweaks here and making the adjustments there. And it's just with everything that we do. I mean, we can get so caught up in that excessive expectations that we put on ourselves, but really what am I doing within my control? And if I do it enough over time, it's going to produce the result in some way that I'm looking for. And I think too, what you guys are doing with Prosperity Builders, being able to have different vantage points, because we all have blind spots, and being able to get plugged into accountability groups and like, hey, what am I missing? What am I not seeing here? And it's a lot easier if you track the numbers, because the numbers always tell the story. And I had said business is just math, and the math equation is offers minus no's equals yeses. So if you're not getting enough yeses, all that means is you haven't got enough no's. And if you're not getting enough no's, you're not making enough offers of offering of your service, of your expertise, of your value. And it's a percentage, right? I mean, even think about this. I mean, you're in the Hall of Fame if you hit 3 out of 10 pitches. You're in the Hall of Fame if you hit 3 out of 10 pitches. And so what is that acceptable conversion of offers minus no's equals yeses? I would say probably 60% and above, you're good. So that's kind of where you want to gauge is, hey, if I'm going to close to an appointment at 60%, and I know I need to be meeting with, 6 people every week or every month or whatever your goals are, then that's, I need 4 no's and I need to make 10 offers. And depending upon the lead source, that all varies, but you just got to be able to track, surround yourself with people that are going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And it's all about revealing, because what we reveal, we can heal. And so it really is. I mean, you just have to have that learner's creative growth mindset. And the way to speed that process up is to be able to, put mirrors up all the way around you, to be able to, reflect back what we can't see, so that we can make the adjustments and move faster.
Well, what's your famous line about why you have to be reminded?
Oh yeah, we got to be reminded more than we need to be told. It takes it. I think even it probably takes more now, because we live in such a distracted, oriented, short attention world. Marketers are incredible. They know how to capture our attention and distract us. But it's anywhere from, 9, 10, 11, 12 times before, you hear the same message before it really resonates. And so as leaders, we have to be okay with repeating ourselves. And you just need to make sure you're getting in environments to where people are repeating themselves. We always joke, right? If the people in your tribe are not mocking you or ending your sentences, you haven't repeated yourself enough.
Well, it kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier too, getting back to the basics, and that's some of the practicing and things like that. Before, a lot of times everyone was just kind of order takers because those sales were just coming in, and now it's like redoing, learning, practicing, and kind of going back to the old methods.
Yeah, I mean, it's putting in the work, and sometimes, it's just that old football thing, right? You got to run 2-a-days just to get back get that train moving again, get that momentum going. But even, you look at, Kobe's one of the greatest examples ever. I mean, he just outworked you. He outworked everybody. He's an hour before practice and several hours after practice. There's some great stories with him to where he, I think it's kind of normal for most basketball players in the off season to do 2-a-days. He did 3-a-days just because he knew if he got one extra workout in over everybody else, then he was going to be that much better than everybody else. And so there's success clues everywhere. It's just paying attention. But I think too, it really comes back down to, what are you doing this for? Daniel Pink talks about it in Drive, that as humans, we'll almost do anything to, to fight for survival. And really, once financial needs are met, people will do a lot of stuff for financial needs to be met. But once they hit that financial threshold, they'll take their foot off the gas. This is the challenge that I've seen over the last 18 years in this business, is that if you're not the primary breadwinner, and you have a significant other that has a great income, and you're maybe just doing this to make ends meet or a great trip, you're just not going to put in the work that's required to be successful in this industry. You're going to be one of the statistics that falls out. And and the reason is that financial needs are met, but you've got to tap into the bigger purpose. Because once financial needs are met, what's pushing you through to keep pushing on those days that you don't even want to get out of bed? and then we get hooked. We get hooked by that belief that, hey, I'm good, right? I'm good, right? It goes back to revenue can hide a lot of problems. Hey, we're good. Revenue's good. Money's good. We got money in the bank. I'm going to go have happy hour today, or I'm going to go hang out with my buddies. And hey, grab some cigars. Let's go tee it up at noon today. And so what is pushing you through that bigger purpose, that bigger picture, that bigger vision that you have? And that's really what it's about, to be able to tap into as a reminder on the days that you don't want to get out of bed, but you do get out of bed. Even when financial needs are met, what is pushing you through? What is that bigger cause for you beyond money?
Right. Yeah, I think what you're saying, you said earlier, don't chase the shiny penny. Put the work in and don't get distracted by all these, all of us in this room and online get lots of things thrown our way. Hey, you should try this. This is really working. Well, that may work for that person and good for them, but maybe they put the work in to make it work. And you think that, well, it's working for them, I'm just going to take it on. So, not get caught up in that and make sure that you're putting the work in.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said, with Malcolm Gladwell, the 10,000 hour rule, right? There's a lot to be said there before you reach that master level, that it takes really to be successful. And if you look at it, it's about 10 years. It's about 10 years of doing anything to where you get to that status. And, even us tracking, this is my 11th year, I'm still not at 10,000 hours of one-on-one coaching, over it in groups and, trainings and stuff like that. But just straight up one-on-one coaching conversations, we're still maybe 1,500 hours away from even hitting 10,000 hours of those unique conversations. And so, there's always room to continue to push. There's always room to grow. And I think that really comes down to just kind of where you're at in your value system. Because that's, from a core value standpoint, that's kind of our compass and kind of helps us on how we take action, and the action that we're taking, and the action we're taking as we're stopping off along the way, accomplishing the goals we have in the direction of where we're trying to go. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what I'm trying to really, bring home here for everybody listening in. What is that known direction, right? That we're moving towards. You're either moving in a straight line from an A to B, or you're moving in a circular world. If you're moving in a circular world and you're not careful and you don't flatten that thing out and moving it in a known direction, you could wake up 10 years from now and in the same situation that you were. And we've all known that, right? If you've gone back to your hometown, right? you see people that are like, damn, you're still here. So it's because they don't have a direction. They don't have a destination. They don't have a big vision that they're trying to go to. But also what tends to happen sometimes is that maybe they did have big dreams, big goals, big aspirations, and they understand they're down here and that aspiration is up here. Well, complacency, right, complacency, coasting, satisfied is real slippery slope, because then what that'll do is that'll bring those big goals and visions back down to your current reality. And next thing you know, you're there. And it's always pushing, always being better. Like, how can you show up better, today than you did yesterday? Even if it's just a little bit better. I'm showing up a little bit better. How can I get a little bit better in my relationships? How can I get a little bit better in my fitness and my health? How can I get a little bit better in my business? And that's just continuing to, make a conscious effort and a choice of, who do I have to become in order to live the life that I want to live? And there's clues everywhere, right? There's clues everywhere, and being able to just look and see what's working for other people, truly working for other people that you can model after and apply. But it comes down to the daily activities. It comes down to the daily thought process. It comes down to, the daily thing that we do compounded over time.
Yeah. 1% better every day, right?
That's it. Doesn't take much, just a little bit every day.
Does anybody online have any
I
questions that
don't
you
see
want to?
any right now. And I think everyone in our group is okay.
Everybody good?
Yeah. Yes.
So have you completely healed?
Oh, no. I'm like, it hurts to sit. So I'll be moving up and around here pretty quick. I haven't done anything. I've been in the Normatex quite a bit. I may run over to the sauna here in a little bit just to kind of there and then stretch. Got a call with Coach tomorrow, so she'll straighten me out. We some trauma on my feet. I got a little lazy in taking care of them, but I didn't feel like I put some trauma on my feet. Like, I know when I bang them up, and I never felt like I banged them up, but I took that shoe off when we got done. I was like, holy smokes, what happened? So they're smoked. We'll get it fixed.
Well, take care of
Well,
yourself.
you're my hero. 100 miles. There's no way. Well, thank you,
Thank you,
John.
John. Take care.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. If you guys need anything, let us know, and let's keep at it.
All
All right,
right.
take care.
All right, we'll see you. Bye.
Okay.